we're here today, people versus Banjo Joe. Court is now in session. I'm gonna read the charges for everyone so everyone knows what he's getting charged with. All right, Mr. Joe is being charged with 12 times attempted murder of an LEO, 1 times jailbreak, 1 times criminal threat, 1 times possession of explosive device, and 1 times impeding traffic flow. How do you plead, Mr. Banjo Joe?
Your Honor, the defendant's going to plead not guilty to these charges at this time.
Okay, amazing. All right. And do you guys have any motions you want to make? I know we've been making pre-trial motions, but I just want to make sure there's no other motions anyone wants to make before we get this started.
No motions from me, Your Honor.
Mr. Fuller.
All good, Your Honor.
All right. The prosecution can begin with their opening statements.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Honor, we are here today to decide the guilt or not guilt of Mr. Joe. Today, I urge the courts to take into account all of the evidence and testimony provided here today and make a just and fair call in regards to Mr. Joe's alleged guilt. Today, we will deal in direct facts and facts only. That's all I have.
All right. Mr. Penn.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bear with me. I wrote this a little bit later or before the charges changed, but you'll find it's still applicable.
Yes, and I understand that too. If anything, I'll take that into account with everything.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, fellow officers of the court, and the people gathered here in the gallery today, this case is titled The People versus Banjo Joe. I'd never in my wildest have thought that the people of this great state would use their collective power to punish a pillar of the community such as Mr. Joe, as I am certain that everyone gathered here has at least one fond memory of Mr. Joe impacting their life. I myself remember Mr. Joe selling me my very first car when I came to the city so many years ago. Though as much as I would love rather to spend this time to reflect on all of the heartwarming stories that Mr. Joe has given all of us, I have a more grave duty to uphold in this courtroom today. A duty to bring to the attention of the people the procedural malfeasance and broad overreach of the state to manipulate this court into abusing the power vested into the people, or vested to it by the people. The prosecution will try to establish a narrative that Mr. Joe is a terrorist. They will try to paint this narrative with a broad brush to cover up the procedural missteps that occurred at every step of this investigation. They will point to circumstances outside the scope of the defendant's involvement and claim them to be the very damning facts that should doom the accused that sits here today. It is my duty to the court to shine a light on the flaws in the investigation, reveal the absence of material evidence in this case, so that this court is not manipulated as a tool for the state to exact vengeance on someone who dares to declare their innocence of the charges that the state has leveled against one of its own citizens. The state will try to wave away all the gaps in the chain of custody for material evidence in this case, and they will offer a well-rehearsed rebuttal as to why we should accept their narrative as the truth and to ask us to consider circumstantial evidence in lieu of fact. In the course of the pretrial in this defense, we have shown that this trial has proceeded once before, only to end in a mistrial, and allowed the state a practice run for this case, in which they tailored the evidence to shore up their narrative based on the previous defense's arguments. However, it's plain to see to any of those that care to look that this case was built in reverse, not following evidence to determine charges as an investigation would, but following charges and fabricating evidence to fit their story. This is a blatant attempt to manipulate the court, Your Honor, And even though I am duty bound to uphold the integrity of this court in all my capacities, I am filled with a seething rage at the state's disgusting attempt to use this court as a cudgel to exact their lust of vengeance upon one of its own citizens. Thank you, Your Honor, and to all those gathered here to witness today.
Thank you, Mr. JP. All right, prosecution, you can begin presenting evidence, calling witnesses, whichever you prefer to start with.
Okay, Your Honor.
I do. What's your name, by the way, so I can know who my bailiff is? Okay, pleasure. I actually think I know you, but it's okay.
Your Honor, can we approach the bench real quick?
Yeah, JP, if you don't mind as well.
No worries. All right, Your Honor, I'd like to call Ranger Milton to the stand at this time.
All right. You can take the stand, Mr. Ranger Milton. What's your first name, Mr. Ranger Milton?
Oh, Ranger.
Oh, okay. Your name is Ranger. Okay, just
Yep,
checking. Just checking. All right. Can you state your name to the courtroom and make sure you're shouting, so everyone can hear.
Oh, yeah, I'm shouting. He's Ranger Milton, 235, Corporal, Blank County Sheriff's Office.
All right. Do you mind putting your hand on the bailiff's book?
This one.
All right, Mr. Milton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you may be seated.
Alrighty.
All right, good evening, Corporal. Can you please describe the events that took place on November 22nd, 2023 at approximately 2200 hours on Los Santos Freeway?
Yeah, you want me to do my testimony or you want me to do that exact date?
The exact date.
Hey, turn off your fucking mouth.
Alright, you said on November 23rd?
November 22nd.
Alrighty, yeah, I can do that. So on November 22nd, Mr. Al Hart received an anonymous video from an anonymous source. The video showed a
Oh, just
Right.
what's in regards to Los Santos Freeway.
Oh, okay, yeah, easier.
Oops.
So we prepared ourselves to do a damn prison transport. Oh, am I allowed to cuss, Your Honor?
Yeah, I don't mind. I curse a lot, so I can't get on anyone's ass for that, 'cause I
Okay,
do
that's
too.
fair then. So we set up to do a transport of a convicted terrorist to Bolingbrook Penitentiary. During that transport, we were attacked by multiple vehicles and individuals. I was originally driving the bus when I was shot in the front left tire, causing me to go into a guardrail at the water treatment plant. I then got out of my bus, engaged in a firefight with the gunman. At this time, a white and colored Sultan, later identified to come back to Mr. Banjo Joe, came into sight. The vehicle was traveling in the northbound lane, but speeding southbound, meaning it was in our lane driving the opposite way traffic should travel as I was heading directly towards the convoy. The driver of the vehicle was Mr. Banjo Joe. I could tell it was him because he wasn't wearing a mask and he was wearing his classic tan outfit. Mr. Banjo Joe stepped out of the vehicle and I immediately trained my weapon onto him. He placed down an RC cart where I thought was kind of weird to do. But I then took a closer look at that RC car and I saw a C4 explosive device. I could tell it was a damn C4 because of the two distinct C4s strapped together with a timer on it. Banjo Joe then pulled out a remote control and attempted to drive the car. At this point, I felt that my life and all the officers' lives over there was put into immediate danger. Not only that, but the lives of innocent people traveling along the freeway were also put at risk. So myself and 161 Tony Peralta discharged our firearms and registered Banjo incapacitated.
Understood. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to call into evidence the exhibits O through Q, showing the RC car on scene and Mr. Joe's vehicle, with the RC car present next to it.
Okay, so I'm gonna clarify, right? I see exhibits like A through E. Is it one of those that I have to go?
It'd be in
into?
Exhibit A, and then it would be subsection O through Q, Your Honor.
Yeah.
However, point of order, Your Honor, this is still the Exhibit A that is the tailored version from the previous trial that you had ordered Mr. Fuller to resubmit.
Your Honor, I'd like to remind you that you asked us to submit the old file, which has been submitted.
This one I'm looking at, I thought the one we did that with was the one that where the police tested the RC car or whatever they did.
Oh,
Is that the one I'm looking at right now? I
That-
don't think that's the one I'm looking at.
No, that's a separate one.
Okay, and you
Exhibit
just want me
B,
to look
Your
at exhibits, which one through which one again? O
Exhibit
through-
A, subsection O through Q. It would be on page 9, Your Honor.
And this includes Banjo's phone record. Is there anything you want me to take note of specifically in Banjo's phone record, or?
Not directly, Your Honor.
Alright, yep, I'm looking at all that.
Okay.
I'm just gonna like how like what is this supposed to show me? I see like a picture of Banjo's MDT profile and a picture of his pockets. Is that what you want me to see? Is what's in his pocket?
Above that, it's the one that shows his vehicle and the RC car that has the C4 attached to it. It's O through Q on page 9.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm seeing. I don't know if I'm seeing the right thing. It says O. It says Banjo Joe's MDT profile. Uh, P is Banjo Joe's firearm. Q is Banjo Joe's phone records. This is what you want me to see, correct?
No, it's on page 9 of the document. It should be page 9 at the very bottom, or going towards the bottom. Oh, that's my apologies, Your Honor. I had my things backwards. It's H through J.
Okay, H2. Yeah, I was confused as hell. I'll look at it.
And to also include G as well, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Now I see what you want me to see. Okay. Perfect.
Milton.
Yep.
Ranger Milton, did you believe that this individual intended to use that vehicle as a direct threat to you and other officers?
100%.
Right?
Objection.
On what grounds?
It's leading.
Just go ahead and rephrase the question for me, Mr. Fuller.
Milton, were you in fear for your life after seeing the vehicle placed on the ground?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. All right. Moving on from that, Ranger Milton, can you please describe the events that happened on November 24th, 2023 at approximately 1700 hours Eastern in regards to the prison break at Bolingbroke Penitentiary?
Yeah, prison break occurred. while the-
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
What was the
Alright,
question?
this is
Can you
to
state the question one more time?
describe the events that happened in regards to the prison break at Bolingbrook Penitentiary.
Your Honor, there are no charges involved for a prison break.
Your Honor, this
there-
is directly involved in jailbreak.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
the
he is being charged with
Jailbreak would be the attempt. My understanding would be the attempt at the bus incident, correct?
Nope. This is for the direct escape of Mr. Joe.
Okay.
Am I allowed to say what I'm supposed to say now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, on November 24th, 2023, a prison break occurred where all the officers responded to Bonebrook Penitentiary. It was there on the scene where all the officers were registered incapacitated, and DOC was unable to locate a bunch of different individuals the next morning, and we got sent a message saying that Banjo Joe was among them who used that opportunity to escape.
Okay.
So is this a separate? This is a separate incident from the RC car incident?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Alrighty. No further questions for this time, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Penn.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Corporal, my name is John Penn. We've met probably once before. Sorry that this would be our second meeting, but I enjoyed our conversation previously over at the golf club. I just had a few questions. Currently, since we were talking about the prison break, for the events on the 22nd, was Mr. Joe arrested and sent to prison?
Yeah, he was formally charged by 101 Christopher Running.
Okay, 101 Christopher Running. Okay. My understanding is that that would be case number 943. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar if that's the correct case number or not.
If you could, are you on duty? Do you have access to your MDT?
I do, yes, I do.
Okay, that'd be great. If you could, for me, access your MDT and look up 943, can read the header information for me, just so I know.
Looks like this has a bunch of different information in it.
I understand. I'll kind of go through it with you here.
Mr. Penn, it's a 943, right? So that way I can go through it with you guys.
Your Honor, 943 is the one we're talking about at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so this is from Christopher Running on the day on the 22nd. There's one offender. Can you tell me who that offender is there, Mr. Milton?
It reads Banjo Joe.
It does, okay. And is the charges there?
There are charges on here, correct?
Yes, yeah. Could you read those charges for me? I'm sorry.
Looks like aiding and abetting of a felony, destruction of government property.
Okay, and total months down there, how many total months would that have been?
Well, that's all up to officer discretion.
I
The months at
mean-
the bottom do not reflect what the actual individual gets charged with at the end of the day.
Okay, well, is there a list or an itemized report that tells what Mr. Joe was charged with that day?
Looks like, yeah, at the very bottom of your report, and there, as you say, all individuals that assisted in the attempted breakout of Reginald Pinkman were given aiding and abetting of terrorism and were sent on hunt charges.
Sure. So that was not in that's not in the charges here, though.
I'm not sure. I wasn't the one that filed out this report.
Fair enough. But so down here at the bottom, you would say, what is that total months down there?
Again, total months is not relevant to what someone gets.
No,
sentenced by.
Your Honor, if Mr. Milton's not going to answer the questions.
Yeah. Could you enter his question, Ranger Milton?
Oh yeah, sure.
How much is the total months down there in the charges listed for Mr. Banjo Joe on report number 943?
The listed months is 15 months.
Okay, thank you. So, if we're to understand this the way it looks on the report and the charges there, imagine that Mr. Joe may have actually been released prior to the jailbreak that day.
No,
Would you agree?
I would not agree. No.
Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. Going back to the events on the 22nd, how far away were you when Mr. Joe pulled up? Could you estimate?
Less than 25 meters.
25 meters. Sorry, I went to
It's about 75 feet.
America. How many feet is that, Mr. Milton?
75-ish.
Mr. Milton?
I'm no mathematician.
Okay, so you would know, in meters though.
Yeah, within 25.
25 meters. Okay. And so that's a good enough way to get a description of the RC car, you would think?
Yeah, absolutely 100%.
Okay, good. And so did Mr. Joe act in a threatening manner to you? Did he, when he placed this RC car, did he make any statements?
No, he didn't say nothing.
Okay. And then he just proceeded to shoot him down, correct?
No, I did not.
You didn't? It said the report said that you had fired and along with Officer Peralta.
No,
Is that
you asked if he said anything, and then I answered no, and then you said, did I proceed to shoot him?
Well, okay. Well, what happened after that?
Oh, he placed an RC explosive car down and took out a remote control and attempted to drive it, and that's when I shot him.
Oh, okay. And so the RC car began to move? Is that what you're telling me?
No, he had the remote control in hand, and at that point, I felt my life and the officer's life and the civilians around us was put in danger.
Oh, I understand. All right. Well, thank you for your service, Mr. Milton. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Would you, Mr. Fuller, you want to ask any more questions, or?
I don't believe I have any further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you for your time, Ranger Milton. You can go back. All right. Does the prosecution have any more witnesses? Any other evidence?
Is there anything else I need to ask? I don't think there's anything else. Give me just a moment, Your Honor. Milton, anything you think of? Oh, Peralta.
Yeah, I mean, Peralta.
Peralta was the same exact right.
What's up?
You were involved in the same thing, right? You were involved with the RC car, weren't you?
Yep, I was involved in all situations that he described.
Did you arrest him and search him?
No, I did not.
Fuck. Who did that?
Oh, wait, no,
I
no,
searched him.
Oh, you did? Shit, I should have asked you about the RC car. Oh. Alright, yeah. Alright, at this time, Your Honor, I'd like to call Mr. Peralta to the stand.
Please come take the stand, Mr. Peralta. Did I lose my? Oh no, my bailiff's over there. Okay, I got confused.
Right here, Your Honor.
Could you state your name for the court to make sure you're shouting? Right, you can go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, on the book, on the book.
All right, all right. Yes, sir.
Can everyone hear him? Does everyone hear him? Just making sure.
No.
No.
All right, I'll
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure they can hear him when he's like that.
Can you hear me? Check.
Yes.
Hello. Is this okay?
That's much
Yes,
better.
we hear
Thank
you
you,
very
Officer
good,
Peralta.
ma'am.
All right, perfect. All right, Mr. Fuller, you can begin your questioning.
Alrighty. Good evening, officer.
Yep.
Alright, are you able to can you please describe the events that took place on November 22nd, 2023 at approximately 2200 hours in regards to the attempted prison transport breakout on Los Angeles Freeway?
Yeah, I was with Officer Runnin in Air 1. We were observing the situation from up top, where multiple targets came in contact with the prison bus. We landed in a field across from the highway where I proceeded to listen to radio comms about identifying different targets and then applying pressure to ease the force coming upon fellow officers. From there, I heard Ranger Milton call out the white and colored Sultan with the RC car. Several officers saying RC car. I identified the target as Mr. Joe and then proceeded to apply fire upon him.
Okay. Did you at any point see the RC car directly?
No, I was across the highway, so I did not physically see it. I just was going off of what the radio comms were.
Understood. Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Penn?
Thank you, Your Honor. Hey there, Mr. Peralta.
How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Could you? I don't believe they covered it. Could you give us your rank for the LSPD?
Currently senior officer.
Okay, senior officer. I'm not very good on the ranking. Is that a low level or a mid level or a high level?
It's about a mid-level.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. So you don't require the use of a supervisor or anything when in the course of your duties directly, right?
No. I won't.
Okay. Obviously, they're there if you have questions, but they're not looking over your shoulder just to make sure that you're writing reports right and everything like that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So were you the arresting officer for Mr. Joe on the 22nd?
Incorrect.
All right. Well, I'm
I
asking
was
you,
the
do you know who?
officer on Buckford Duff.
Okay. Do you know who processed Mr. Joe?
I do not.
All right. Doesn't seem like anybody. Now, however, I do have on the 22nd, if you are you on duty as well? Do you have access to your MDT?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you could, can you bring up case number 942?
Yeah, this was a report that was started and then moved over to the combined report that Ranger Milton did.
Sure, sure. On this report, there is a charge, is there not?
Just evading.
Just evading. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
evidence, there's no report for the incident.
Because it was moved over to the combined report that Ranger Milton did.
So you're saying that this evading is also charged on another report?
Under my, we were starting to get charges together for people. Everything's broken down at the cells. Who's getting who? And
All right.
originally
Do
I
you-
was going to be taking Banjo, but then Ranger Milton took over that portion because he wanted to
Okay.
further question him
So
about
did
some other things.
Oh, okay. So are you aware of the report that Ranger Milton wrote?
Not quite sure.
You don't know. All right.
Nope, I gave him my statement, and he was going to deal with it from there.
He wrote a report that is somewhere. All right. So the charge of evading here on the defendant's record is not attached to, or is attached to this other report, or it's not attached. I'm confused.
You can object, asked and answered already.
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes.
Asked and answered.
I guess I would just like to clarify for the court for the answer. It is on this
I'm
other
okay.
report.
I'm honestly confused on it too, so I'm kind of okay.
The report was started, and all the charges weren't actually placed in the report. And then it was moved to the other report. It should have been actually washed out, but it never did.
All right. So my understanding, and from previous trial, the pre-trial, it was report 945 that is the one in question where all these charges ended up. So if you could can you search for 945 as well?
It's well within our purview to add charges as we see fit and remove them as well if we don't feel that the evidence is there.
All right.
So, in this, can you read the names of the offenders on this one?
Dicewick, Jimmy Wang, and Buckford Duff.
So, Mr. Banjo is not referenced in this as an offender, correct?
Not in this one.
Okay. So, yet all the evidence in this compiled report points to 945 as the one that has been totaled with all the evidence and all the charges.
That report's
However,
for LRA
the
as a
defendant
whole.
has not received the charges for what is on his other reports that have no evidence and no reports with them, or reports that
The
are.
evidence was submitted.
So, I mean, I'm guessing, how did he not end up on this report?
Your Honor,
We
he is in
can't
the
combine-
report.
We can't combine reports and messes up with the
Who's on the
charges.
report? On 945?
Mr. Joe is mentioned within the report. The evidence he's within the
He's
report.
he's not a charged offender in this one,
We
Your
can't
Honor.
stack the
Yeah, no,
people
I
because it
don't see
messes
him.
up
Be,
the
I think that's the
charges.
point Mr. Pence trying to make. Is
We
that
aren't able
Yes,
to
sir.
stack within the MDT for different people as it screws up the charges. It shows completely different things.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Can you explain that a little more? Because
We
I
can't
see
add
three
5 people to a report. We can only add a certain number before it starts to screw things up.
Your
what's the
Honor,
number?
it's because the charges from person 1 would go onto person 2's report. It'll go onto their record. If you have 2 people charged with different things, everybody will get the charges added to their report or to their record. So, for
is
example,
it specified in this report like what Banjo's charges are? Because I see everyone got charged with the same thing.
No,
so
Your
I don't
Honor.
see why that would.
The
I don't
charges
see
are
why that would be a
specified
problem.
with what our office has submitted after reviewing all of the pertinent evidence and checking the
But
penal
there's
code.
no. But what the prosecution is trying to say is there is no incident report that reflects the charges that are presented here today in court.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
see that, and I don't use like the MDT issue because everyone in that report got charged with the same thing. So I don't see why Banjo would get charged with something different.
I would also think
what I
if they're having trouble, they would split it up to individual
Banjo's
reports.
was a separate charge.
Yeah,
he
However-
was investigated
agree.
for different involvement.
However,
I can't
even
deny
then,
that.
Banjo
going
was
back-
charged separately as he was involved in a
I'm
different
sorry.
investigation.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fuller. I'm trying to have a cross-examination, if you don't mind. All right. Mr. Peralta, going back to 941. I'm sorry, 942.
Mm-hmm.
In this report, is there any mention of the
Objection,
items
he's
that were
not able to
confiscated
delete the
from Mr.
report.
Joe at this time?
He's not able to delete his
I
own
believe it
report.
would be referenced in report 943.
It's already been.
That's not what I asked. In
Christian.
942, is there a report? We'll get to 943 in a moment, but is there any log of the confiscated items from Mr. Joe in this report?
No.
Thank you. Now we can go to 943 since we are eager to get moving to Mr. Running's report. Can you look through that report as well and tell me if there are any items logged as confiscated evidence from Mr. Joe?
No, there isn't.
It was
Okay,
in the
thank
actual
you.
locker room.
We can go to 945 at this time. And again, is there a log in the report showing the items confiscated
He's not
from
wrong. If it's
Mr.
not in the
Joe?
report, then they don't know that.
There is.
Can you read the contents of that ledger?
A remote control, car keys, racing tablet, Dippin' Dots, a Browning 1922.
You confiscated the man's Dippin' Dots?
Well, no, these are the items that were found.
Oh,
on
that's
him.
the picture of his pockets, but do you have a documented list of what has actually been taken from the man during his arrest? That would be in the
No.
report section.
Yes, it just logged in the locker room itself.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. So, I know that it's your senior officer's a mid rank. I don't know if there's any plan to bring any investigator or detectives along. I would save this question for them. But are you aware of what the custody of or chain of custody is?
Correct.
Okay, and could you tell the court here what that what the chain of custody is?
Is the remote control and everything still in the
Would
locker?
be
No, we
when you
just it got fucking
confiscate
do you
items
understand
off
what I'm
of
talking
the
about?
subject and then put
Did
them
it
into
decay?
evidence.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
and why
would still be there.
would a chain of
Mhm.
custody be important for a trial?
Or all the evidence is filed correctly.
So we know what was taken, what is evidence,
Correct.
and that evidence, should it be tested for explosive, would be able to be tracked to that case, correct?
Correct.
Okay. No more further
It's
questions, Your
literally
Honor.
all, it's
Thank
all
you. And thank you
logged
again, Mr.
when we
Peralta. I
hand it over
appreciate
to
your
the
time.
evidence room.
All right.
They talk too much over
Senior
there for
Officer
me.
Peralta. Is the evidence logged within the case file directly anytime that there is a case opened?
Can you clarify that?
Is there an evidence logger that specifies each report?
Correct. It corresponds to the report number.
Okay. And any evidence that pertains to this report is placed in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at any time, if there was to be anything taken off of Mr. Joe, it would have been directly placed into one of these reports.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess that brings up another question that I would have, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Fuller is done. Yeah, you can go ahead.
I'm not done.
Oh no,
You're
Do
not
you
done?
have
I'm
access
sorry.
to do you have access to view these lockers currently?
Yeah, because I am on duty.
Are you able to open evidence locker 945?
Yes.
actually- Can we approach this bench real quick, Your Honor? GB.
yes, yes.
Listen,
Hey,
Hi, Mr. Peralta. Thank you, sir.
Just in my head.
I'm
okay?
done.
Yeah, all done.
I think Mr. Penn has one more question for you, and then you'll be all done.
I mean, I guess we kind of answered it.
I think you're whispering. I don't know.
I apologize. Yes,
yeah.
no. I think we kind of answered up here at the bench, though. Again, there's no itemized log we discussed, so I don't have any further questions. Oh, again, yeah, you weren't. Yeah, everything's been answered. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Everything's all right. And I'm gonna ask a question. I don't know who's the highest ranking officer here right now. I just want to clarify something because I'm not too familiar with PD's procedures. Is it you, Mr. Benson?
Me, man.
If my colonel is not here, then I believe it would be me.
All right,
Yes.
you're here. So do you guys normally log what you take, right? That is a procedure you guys have, correct?
Yes, it is a. It is. He's asking about do we log evidence that we take off of convicted people or suspects?
Yes, I mean, we're supposed to log, and there's a section of the MDT template that says confiscated items.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. There's no more questions for Mr. Peralta, correct? Mr. Penn.
That's correct. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
You can take you can go back. Prosecution can call their next witness, point out their next piece of evidence. It's your call.
All right, I'd like to call Deputy Atwater to the stand, please.
All right, Deputy Atwater, could you take the stand, please?
It does kind of look like his twin.
God is great in Arabic.
All right, could you state your name and make sure you're shouting, Mr. Atwater?
Are they gonna racial?
Yes, sir. Named Deputy Mikey Atwater.
All right, could you go ahead and put your hand on the book that Mr. Benson's holding? Bailiff Benson.
Mr. Atwater, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may stay seated.
All right, Mr. Fuller, you may begin with your questioning.
All right, Deputy Atwater, what was your involvement within the RC car itself that was found on El Los Santos Freeway on November 22nd?
I was the one that took pictures of it and collected like other evidence along with the RC car.
Okay. And in these pictures, with your own personal eyesight and vision, did you see anything that was attached to that RC car that was not a part of the RC car itself?
It's what looked to be a C4 explosive.
Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, were you involved in the detonation of that RC car that was found on scene?
Yes, it was myself, Milton, Pimento, and Hart.
Okay. Are you able to describe the events that took place during that?
There's two reports contradict.
Um,
Get him, GP.
yeah, no. So basically, we set it up at the in a controlled area up in Sandy. It was inside a destroyed vehicle, so no shrapnel or anything would fly about going anywhere. And we had a successful detonation, and no harm done to anyone or any more damage.
Okay. So was the vehicle was detonated successfully?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Penn?
Yes. As a deputy Atwater, correct?
Well, sorry, senior deputy, sir.
Senior deputy, okay.
Yes, sir.
And are you, I'm understanding you're a part of the Detectives Bureau?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, that's, you don't necessarily fall into that as a career. Do you have to take an exam for that?
No, it's something you sign up for, and then you work your way through it.
Okay, all right. So in the report, it mentioned that you and Atwater had left to go to
This
the
is
hospital.
Atwater. I'm going to clarify.
I'm sorry. Justice Time and you, Mr. Atwater, left the scene to go to the hospital with the rest of the the officers as well as the suspects involved. Am I correct in reading that correctly?
I believe that was like later on in the night.
Okay, all right. And then you had returned to the scene afterwards to recover the vehicles, but the vehicles were gone. Is that correct?
Yes.
At what point did you recover this RC car? Was
That
that
was
before or after you came back?
that was before.
It was before.
Yes,
When you took.
that was during that was during the whole transport part.
Okay, so you recovered the RC car during the before you left, and then you went to the hospital with a live munition.
No, sir. I was with Milton the whole time with the
Okay,
with
well,
everything.
it's not documented in the report of when you picked it up and where you placed it. So I'm just trying to get an idea of what happened to the evidence as it moved about from the scene. Did you take a stop to immediately drop it off into evidence before going to the hospital?
Yeah, we brought it to MRPD and the forensics team took it in.
Okay, so you dropped it off with the forensic team, and then the forensic team deposit. Do you know what happened to the RC car at that point?
No, sir. As I'm not a part of that team.
Okay. There's anybody involved in that team here today?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And you'd imagine that if you had sent this to the forensic team, they would have given you a receipt. They've received the evidence, again, preserving a chain of custody, correct?
Could you
Not
repeat the question for me? Actually, I missed.
Well,
my head really zoomed
my
out.
whole point is that there's got to be a chain of custody of this evidence because I mean,
Oh no,
who
I'm not
knows?
saying that. I just missed the. I missed the
But
question.
my
ears,
question
they
would
cut
be
out.
is that if they've dropped it off to the forensic team, they would have given a receipt or a log of some sort that says that this item was taken from this scene and then was processed and deposited somewhere else afterwards. But I don't find that in any of the reporting, and I don't see it in any of the incident reports either. So when I look at Exhibit B, Your Honor, the statement of Mr. Milton retrieving the evidence from a locker, it's not specific on which locker it was pulled from, and it's not specific on which locker the RC car was placed. But that's neither here nor there. Mr. Atwater, are you aware of what the chain of custody is? Being a detective, you would know, correct?
Excuse me.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand the importance of that to the court, correct? Can you, in your own words, tell me why the chain of custody of evidence would be important to a court?
So, this is the thing is like with our evidence room, it's not quite how it works. Like, we don't get receipts for stuff that we store in there.
Sure. No, I understand that. So there's no accounting in the reporting for retrieving it. There's no accounting in the Exhibit A for your pickup of the RC car from the scene. All I have are pictures of the RC car at the scene. Is that correct?
There is multiple documents of the reporting of the RC car.
Right, but none of them tell us which locker it was placed in. None of them tell us when it was picked up, at what time, and how. Was it dusted for fingerprints?
Of course, it wasn't dumbasses.
I believe that just goes back to the forensic team. So.
Okay, so again, this forensic team, who again received this material, there's no log of them doing anything with it or processing it, or a log of where they placed it at the end of their testing, correct?
Stupid. check fingerprints.
Is that
By the
correct,
way, gloves.
Mr. Atwater?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your time, Mr. Atwater. I understand this has been a while ago. It's hard to remember all the fuzzy details. So thank you again for your time. No further questions, Your Honor.
Before I ask you, Mr. Fuller, to continue, there's a couple things I need to clear up for myself. When you say forensic team, Mr. Atwater, i- is it assigned to like officers or like I'm trying to word this in a way, or
It's
is it
not
like
specifically assigned,
or
no.
is it like a Nurse Nancy type thing?
Yeah, Nurse Nancy.
Okay, okay. I just want to clarify that because I was confused a bit. All right. All right. Yeah, Mr. Fuller, you can go ahead.
Just a second, Your Honor.
All right.
All right. Senior Deputy Atwater, in regards to the actual forensics of the explosive device, in Exhibit D, you can see that there is individuals testing the substance within the RC car. Were you a part of that team at all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. For the court, I'd like to call into evidence Exhibit D, A through.
Is it the first or the second card testing?
Uh,
There's two sheets.
A through I.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can you
Let me
ask
give me a second to just look at it real
Yeah,
fast.
hold on.
Because there's two of them. They change the information on both. So which one are we looking at? The fabricated one or
Wait,
the
you
actual
said so it's Exhibit D, and then you want me to look at A through I?
Yes.
Exhibit D, like dog,
Or no,
right?
sorry. What is? Okay. My apologies. Can we just?
I believe you'd
okay.
be talking about Exhibit B.
Yeah, sorry, Your Honor. Exhibit B. I had my letters confused. The
Okay,
dyslexia is
okay.
getting me.
Again, Your Honor, Exhibit B in the court record is the one that was ordered to be changed out for the old one, but most of the information in there is the same. I'll object to anything that's brought up that's outside of the original.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look at this, but that whole last paragraph you cannot quote, and you did not submit the old one, so I'm gonna
I
be
was.
okay with
Yeah,
it.
that's understood. I was not aware it was supposed to be the old one of this. I thought it was the old case files completely created for Banjo.
No, it was just this, but it's fine. So you want to look at A through I? You said.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can continue with your questions or present more evidence.
Okay. Senior Deputy Atwater, and do you have this exhibit open as well?
I do not know.
He may not have
Okay.
access to it, but I can send it directly to him.
Are you
It's
able to send it to him?
actually case number 1007, Your Honor. That report is in 1007.
Understood.
And that would be the original report, Your Honor.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, if you want to use any wording, Mr. Fuller, I recommend using it from there, so that way it matches up with the old one.
Understood. Okay, so in the actual evidence room where the forensics is testing with the RC car on the table, was it positively identified to contain explosives?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
I do have one more follow-up.
Yeah, that's fine. You can
Thank you,
continue.
Your Honor.
Mr.
Going
Pitt.
back to 1007, if you will, Mr. Atwater. If you could read the first sentence for me, please.
So on the 30th, Pimento, Milton, myself, Hart, readied themselves for the safe detonation of the RC car used to attack a prison transport on 22nd November.
Okay, and then the second sentence after that, I apologize.
All right. Milton went down to the evidence lockers inside MRPD and signed out the RC car.
Is there a locker number listed in that sentence?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Atwater. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your service.
All right, you can go ahead and take your seat again, Mr. Atwater. Thank you for your time. The court appreciates it.
JP, you remember what I said, right? If all goes
All right, Your Honor,
well.
at this time, the defense rests, or the prosecution rests.
All right, does the defense have anyone they would like to call to the stand, or any evidence they would like to present to the court?
Your Honor, I would like to present the exculpatory evidence that I have presented, or enter into the record the exculpatory evidence which I have presented through cross-examination at this time. Of course, there is Exhibit 8, which, again, you're at your discretion to consider or not. And then that is everything that we are poised to present at this time, Your Honor, and we will rest our case as well and ready for closing statements.
All right, are you guys both ready? I can give you like we way ahead of schedule, so I can give you guys 5 minutes if you want to get your closing statements ready, and then we can continue from there.
Defense is ready at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, how about prosecution?
Yeah, I would like 5 minutes, Your Honor.
All right, yep, we can go ahead and take 5.
Damn, those some good ass tacos.
Mr. Cheese,
What's up, G?
Lenny Falcone from Weasel News. How do you think the case is going so far?
Shit. I think the state
Here,
is
give me a
fucked.
second.
What?
What's
Could you expand upon that?
Oh no, it just looks like they miss a couple details from the questions that was asked.
Yo.
Yeah,
Guys,
stop.
guys.
Court is now in session again. Mr.
Guys,
Penn,
listen
you
to
can
the-
begin your question.
I
You can
have
begin your closing
Milton
statement.
on video. He said, "If it's Brown, shoot it down. If I go to prison, I will release it."
Can you repeat that, Your Honor?
Please
Sorry.
cancel him.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Penn can begin his closing statement whenever he's.
I
ready.
believe it is the prosecution that goes first for closing
Can I
statements.
go in the middle? I don't like the corner.
Closing argument.
Thanks, Nico.
All right, well, I guess I'll go. All right,
Oh yeah,
Your Honor,
sorry,
ladies
my
and
bad, man. My bad. I'm fucking.
Not a problem, Your Honor. I understand.
You know,
Your
I
Honor,
haven't sat
ladies
on
and-
trial in a long time. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the courtroom, the defense counsel is attempting to argue on terms that our police department abide by. Our police department does not indeed provide receipts for evidence lockers. We are unable to assist in the decay of items as well. The defense is attempting to argue the chain of custody, which officers are not given a direct receipt for. It is logged directly within the case files whether it is removed or added to a file. At the time of the original arrest, the RC car was physically placed into evidence and logged accordingly. We have multiple eyewitnesses that have testified today that Mr. Joe was involved with the RC car directly, that was later identified to include explosives after further testing. One witness even directly saw Mr. Joe step out of his vehicle and place his vehicle and attempt to drive it to target officers.
Bullshit,
You do
man.
not need to, I would like to remind the court that you do not need to fire your weapon or explode a device to be charged with attempted murder.
Fucking saw me drive to it. It was there.
If officers did not react in the corresponding way, the situation would not have continued in the direction it did. I would advise the court to deal in the facts that Mr. Joe directly stepped out of his vehicle in the middle of an active shootout, placed down an RC car that tested positive for explosives in order to attempt harm to surrounding officers. We would also like to advise the court that Mr. Joe directly escaped from prison after being placed into custody for a held until trial charge. He was later then identified and captured again to be placed back in a Bolingbrook penitentiary where he waited until he was let out on bail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Penn?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense has shown that the case was built backwards. From the very beginning, the defendant was not considered a subject of the investigation. His charges were never officially recorded, his sentence never fully processed. The UPD simply tossed him in jail and threw away the key. If that can happen to a cutie such as Mr. Joe, then it is certainly in the cards for any of the rest of the citizens gathered here today. The UPD has become complacent in their reporting and their professionalism, all in the name of fun. They have become derelict in their duty as sworn officers of the peace, free to abuse their power that has been given to them in trust by the people of this great state, and possess carte blanche to manipulate and use this court as their own personal attack dog, where fear and intimidation can be doled out to those that dare to declare their innocence. The state held Mr. Joe in prison for 4 years before he was allowed a bail hearing. The 17 charges that put him there indefinitely have mysteriously evaporated into this courtroom today in light of the direct testimony of the state's own witnesses. Witnesses that have misled this investigation from the very beginning for no more reason than being coaxed and led into providing false testimony in order to be congruent with the state's own presumptions and assumed guilt of the accused. How many more involved in this incident alone were not able to resist the power and weight of the charges against them? How many more have been forced into a plea deal that did not have the courage and wherewithal to endure the pressure of the law and government for the weeks that passed before this trial could be held? Mr. Joe could finally stand here in the light and be shown as the innocent man we all know him to be. He didn't take the easy way out, didn't plead guilty to the trumped up charges, and even though those responsible for the incident did, he endured years in prison and saw others involved get released and move on with their lives by taking a deal. Instead, he trusted that this system would do what it had promised all the citizens of the state it would do. He put his faith and trust in the court and all of us for a fair trial under the law, where the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution can provide the last safe harbor for an innocent accused. Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. All right, that's it. I'm gonna go take like maybe 3 minutes. I don't think this is the hardest decision I've ever had to make, so I'm gonna take a couple of minutes to make sure I understand everything, and then I'm gonna go ahead with a decision. Thank you.
Let the
everyone, for
jury
your time.
decide.
A verdict for each charge, an explanation like right after, and then go to the next charge. You know what I mean?
Can I
Alright,
argue?
I'm gonna start
on.
off.
Come on up here, man.
I guess I start off with the more serious charges first, then go to the lesser charges, right?
Your purview,
Attempted
Your Honor.
murder of an LEO. I find Banjo Joe not guilty on all 12 counts.
Oh shit.
Thank you.
On possession of an explosive device, I'm not saying I don't believe the RC car was an explosive. I do believe
Wait, shall I?
the officers did what they needed to do, but I think there's too much doubt that the car might not be Banjo due to the fact that none of this was logged in the report that was taken from him. There's a lot of things, in my opinion, missing, and then also like no acknowledgement of which locker the car was moved from. So I find Mr. Banjo Joe not guilty on possession of a explosive device. I find Mr. Banjo Joe not guilty as well on criminal threats because I didn't hear anything about criminal threats. So I don't even know if, you know what I mean? Like he has to be not guilty there. And then on jailbreak, I do find Mr. Banjo Joe guilty, as I do believe that the officers did at least mention that he was in there on the hot charge, and it's there in the report, and you know he was not there, and it was recorded that he was not there anymore. So I do find him guilty of jailbreak. And then I also do find him guilty of impeding traffic flow.
What the fuck? Yo.
All right.
Thank
sorry,
you,
I'll
Your
go
Honor.
7, my brain. Yeah, but then I just find him guilty on impeding of traffic flow because of the whole incident where he's driving down the wrong side of the road, hops off the car right there, and it stops traffic. Thank you. Court is adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Damn.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So how
Am
many
I-
years he
Am
getting?
I gonna get cuffed and go jail or no?
No,
do-
no, 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 no.
Oh.
If anything, the state owes you money at this point.